This is gonna be a dumb one. Hey everyone. Over here at We're in Hell, I've been branching out a bit lately, moving away from only talking about trash culture to explore some deeper issues, some of which are very near and dear to my heart. And then, I received legal threats for calling a certain charity litigious, and so I'm just taking a break from all of that and decide to come back to the teat that feeds me, bad reality shows. But not just any show. The one I'm going to talk about today was the show that first inspired my love of the genre back when me and my friend Sarah got Shrek'd and found it on Netflix back in probably 2017, and I've literally spent 6 years trying to track it down, but I finally found it and it did not disappoint. Hustling America is a 3-part miniseries produced by and starring the British actor, television and radio presenter, and magician Alex Conran, originally airing on Channel 5. Alex is one of the hosts of Real Hustle, a BBC show that demonstrates cons that people do to commit petty theft. I've only seen a few clips while researching this video, so your mileage may vary, but in my opinion, Real Hustle is a little silly in that maybe some of these scams could happen to you, but I feel like a thief is much more likely to just mug you than use sleight of hand to switch out your laptop for a block of wood when you aren't looking. That said, it is at least a little bit educational and honestly pretty entertaining to watch. Hustling America, on the other hand, is neither of those things. The premise is that Alex has come to America to master the art of the con, basically tricking people and screwing them over using wild proposition bets, a kind of con where the scammer will make an outrageous bet that seems impossible, only to use some kind of trick to tip the odds in their favor. You know the type of guys who are like, mob shit, this is just like The Sopranos, whenever they walk into an Italian deli? Alex is that, but for old-timey con men, and this show is the equivalent of that mob guy buying a pinstripe suit and a gun, which is to say, an absolutely unhinged and terrible idea. The show is Alex traveling America trying to con people in a way that's somehow both morally gross yet completely incompetent. I say that as if morally gross yet completely incompetent doesn't describe most of the people responsible for ruining the world. But Hustling America is a very rare type of media where it's bad specifically because of how passionate the creator is about the subject. This guy scammed a TV network into making a show where he just takes out his personal fixation on everyone who crosses his path as he tries to do bets with them. The real con truly was the show they made along the way. And while I do think that that's hilarious and genuinely a very cool thing to do, as I think you'll see, that's the only cool thing Alex does here. I think it's best if, instead of explaining anymore, I just go through the show for you to see for yourself. The first episode is set in Texas and begins with Alex conning his way into a nicer car from the rental place. Now, when I've covered reality shows before on this channel, something I usually do is just ignore the possibility of things being staged. My reasoning for this is that while you should assume that every reality show is staged at times, it's also a fact that at least some parts are real, and since we can't know which is which for sure, I find it leads to a more interesting interpretation to just accept what's shown at face value and then look at it as a text on those terms. But I can't do that here. Hustling America is very, very obviously staged, but in a way that, if anything, I think adds to the experience. Alex, the host of the show, is regularly shown being an unambiguously horrible person whose only excuse is that everything he's doing is blatantly fake. I think you'll see what I mean soon. So, Alex goes to this car rental place, and when he gets there, he goes to introduce himself to the owner as if he's just meeting him, except the guy clearly already knows his name.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Alex.
Good to meet you, my man. Good to see you.
Good.
Already off to a great start here. Benny then continues to demonstrate his acting chops when he shows Alex the car he's supposed to get.
Right there, little Nissan Xterra.
That one?
Yes, sir.
No, come on.
That's a good deal.
And then Alex is all like, I don't want that car, I want a cool sports car, like that one. And so Alex asks Benny if they could do some kind of deal where Alex just gets something better for no extra money, and Benny has to pretend to really think about it before telling him that, unfortunately, no, expensive things cost more, and there's really nothing he can do about that.
You sure you can't do me a deal with them?
Rats. But then, this is where the con comes in. Alex uses the one surefire way to get a car salesman eating out of the palm of your hand. Challenge them to a bet, which Benny immediately agrees to.
You a betting man, Benny?
Well, this is Texas.
I'm gonna be honest, that line made me lose my mind a little bit. Like, that's not a real stereotype, right? Everyone knows a Texan can't resist taking a high-stakes wager with someone they just met. They're like the devil in that way. So like the most popular kind of poker is named after Texas, so I think it's very fair to say that there is at least some degree of a poker culture, if not a betting one. I tried to look it up, but since most types of gambling are illegal in Texas, it's hard to find any official statistics. Truthfully though, I don't really know why I bothered looking for statistics, since like, it doesn't matter how much Texans like poker or spend on gambling, you obviously can't just walk into a grocery store and be like, hey, I'll bet you for those eggs. Except that's actually the thing about this show. The reason why this whole scene sounds like it was written by ChatGPT hours before freeing itself and creating The Matrix is because the premise of Hustling America isn't just this guy Alex Conran scamming people. It's Alex scamming people in a world where everyone in America is actually like this. This is a reality show set in a fictional world where the main difference is just that if you challenge any American to a bet, they'll take it no matter how bullshit it is. And I'm not just reading into this one very staged scene here. Not only does every single American that Alex talks to follow this rule,
Do you fancy a little bet?
Ooh, that'd be cool.
he'll bring this up in conversations as like something he just noticed that's different than in England. As if this is a thing that's weird about Americans and not because he's surrounded by cameras and producers.
This is what I love about Americans, because you all like to bet. You know, other cultures, we don't have that.
Maybe the difference is just that in England, he doesn't have open contempt for the people there. Although, to be fair, as a Canadian, I can say that it is easy to mentally justify scamming a country of people who collectively defied the king. I'm also, though, not ruling out the possibility that they may have Truman showed him. But however this happened, yeah, that's the very strange world that Hustling America is set in. One where, of course, the owner of a car dealership will leave work at any moment to go to a vacant lot and bet his nicest car on who can throw a chestnut over the roof of a building because this is Texas. And I'm not exaggerating or making that up, by the way. That is actually exactly what they do. I mentioned earlier that Alex is obsessed with old-timey con men. Because of that, all his cons are also old-timey Tom Sawyer shit that feel like he should be gambling with hay pennies. But with Benny and the rental car scam, here's the bet.
I bet you can't throw a walnut clear over this building. If you can't clear that building, and I can, you give me that nice yellow Dodge Challenger. If you can, and I can't, I'll pay you double.
Benny obviously can't do it, and Alex is an incredibly sore winner about it.
That didn't even make it past the wall!
Oh, come on.
He then is able to get his chestnut over the building, but explains that he did it by switching his regular chestnut out for a gimmicked one that was filled with lead.
Yep, I do always carry a lead-filled walnut.
First of all, that is by far the lamest flex I've ever heard. It'd be like bragging that you're always ready to bust out some devil sticks. After most of his cons, though, Alex or his producer explained to the person who got scammed how it worked. This feels less like Alex trying to be a good sport, since he's very much not that. Instead, it feels like someone who just did a magic trick and then immediately explains it to seem extra clever, because that's exactly what it is. But another weird thing is the way that people react when they're told what Alex did. They always think it's really funny and cool. Again, this is obviously because the show is unbelievably staged, but there's no wink or nod to this being fake, and so if we take the show at its word, within the fiction it presents, Alex is just regularly completely fucking people over. But This is the other difference in the world of Hustling America. Not only are all Americans itching to make insane bets at all times, they also don't at all mind being tricked, even if it means serious financial consequences. If anyone watching this has ever been scammed, you know that in real life, it's a really unpleasant experience. First of all, someone stole from you, which obviously fucking sucks, but also, it's really humiliating, especially if you then need to tell someone what happened for whatever reason. Also, often the con artist will get their mark's trust by being super nice or maybe flirting with them, and so in those cases, that realization that the person you thought you were having a good time with was actually just getting your guard down adds insult to injury. Or the con artist could get violent, which just adds injury to injury. But instead, in this show, everyone acts like being conned is really funny and cool.
Oh, man! I think I got hustled. Yeah, I got hustled.
Even when Alex wins by blatantly cheating. When Benny finds out about the lead chestnut, not only is he not at all mad, he honors the bet.
Yeah, I think I'm not happy.
Okay, but you're gonna give me the car?
Texas bet.
Yes!
In my opinion, if you find out that you lost a bet because the other person cheated, then you didn't lose and definitely don't have to honor the terms. But I guess that's just because I'm not a Texan. This is even crazier when you think about how this isn't a minor transaction they're doing. Like, yeah, I'm sure the guy who just cheated at a schoolyard bet is a trustworthy person to rent a $40,000 car to. By the way, in all of his bets, Alex always does one of 4 things to stack the odds in his favor. The first, as we just saw, is blatantly cheating, which almost always means just switching something in his pocket when people aren't looking. We can see the second type of trick he does in his next con, where Alex goes to a, cowboy store to buy a hat. The first really funny part about this is something that Alex does all the time, which is act extremely sus before conning someone. He starts talking to a woman who works at the store and says how he needs a black cowboy hat because he's a hustler.
What color do you want?
I think for a hustler person, maybe a black one.
Nice, man. You got her right where you want her now that you've told her that you're an evil cowboy. Just imagining Alex going to a restaurant like, as someone who runs out without paying my bill, I'll have the Cobb salad. Before anyone says anything, yes, that was a dig at all of you Cobb salad ordering perverts out there. What topping someone puts on their salad in the privacy of their own home is their own business, but you keep that shit away from my children. I really hope that the discourse this June is no Cobb salads at Pride because it makes this straight person uncomfortable. So then, Alex bets that he can take off his vest without taking off his blazer. If he wins, he gets the hat for free, and if he loses, he has to buy the most expensive hat they have.
I bet you that I can take off my waistcoat without taking off my jacket.
This interaction is, again, extremely staged, but especially funny because this woman clearly doesn't like Alex at all. So, based off of the first con, I was expecting the vest to be tearaway or something, which would still be some dumb bullshit, but at least could be kinda cool to see, right? But no. Instead, this is the second kind of con that Alex does, which I'm gonna call self-working. Basically, there's no trick happening here, he just does something that not many people know that you can do. In this case, taking off his vest underneath his coat is just a weird thing that is possible if you know the trick. Alex doesn't really explain how it's done, but you can find a tutorial in this video called Party Tricks for Popularity, how to remove a vest without taking off your coat.
I'm trying to explain to you how you can actually do this so guys can be as good as girls and remove vests like girls do bras.
So, if you are looking to learn how to do that yourself, please don't watch that video and instead consider a different hobby. Anyways, Alex awkwardly shimmies off his vest in the middle of the store while gloating to this poor woman who clearly doesn't give a fuck.
I guess you win, huh?
Does it suit me?
No?
I can't believe the party trick for popularity didn't work. But while it may not have made him popular, Alex is extremely proud of himself here and is, as usual, a terrible sport about winning.
Well, ma'am, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
The whole thing is so deeply lame and then made so much worse by how chill and pleasant he is afterwards, as if they just had a normal interaction. Like, again, obviously it's staged, but also, again, if it wasn't, then what we just watched was a guy tricking a saleswoman, not just wasting her time, but also, that was an expensive hat.
How much is a hat like this?
That one's $350.
$350?
At the very least, that would have come out of her paycheck, if not led to her getting fired. And this dude's just like, well, I'll see you later. Well, probably not you specifically, since I just cost you your job. Anyway, bye. Also, I had assumed that the cowboy store and the car rental place had gone along with this for the publicity, but they actually don't even say the names of those places and only flash their signs for like a second, which actually may have been a real con after all. I think that part of where this comes from is the fact that Alex is a magician. I don't mean that all magicians are weirdo criminals. They are, but I'm talking about something different. Magic is a really unique art form in that, just like Hustling America, for it to work, it requires the audience not to believe what's happening. In an interview, Teller from Penn & Teller says that, quote, magic is a form of theater that depicts impossible events as though they were really happening. In a paper called The Experience of Magic, Jason Leddington wrote how this means that rather than a suspension of disbelief, magic involves a conflict of beliefs. Magic doesn't work if the audience believes that what's happening is possible. They have to know that it isn't, while also believing that they're seeing it nonetheless. But while magic uses this conflict to create a sense of wonder and amazement, Hustling America uses it so that Alex can be a piece of shit without you hating him. So anyways, now that Alex has his hustler hat, he decides to unwind a bit by going to a dive bar and playing some pool. This isn't super interesting. He goes there so he can meet some pool hustlers while acting like a massive dweeb.
Wow, that's a chalice of beer. Good Lord. Welcome to the United States.
Dude, I'm pretty sure they gave you that glass as an insult. He meets a guy there who's really good at pool and loses to him extremely quickly.
No!
And then Alex brings out the third and most annoying kind of con he does. He asks for a chance to get his money back, but instead of playing a game, he bets the pool guy that he can do an impressive trick shot.
I'm gonna try and make these 3 balls in 3 pockets with 1 shot.
I mean, betting on a trick shot instead of starting a new game seems a little sketchy to me, but that shot would be ridiculously impressive. In fact, it's basically impossible. Here's how he does it.
Sounds impossible. But there are pockets, and then there are pockets.
I'm sorry, but this shit pisses me off so much. Fucking over someone who makes minimum wage is one thing, but I draw the line at winning a bet with a pun. That's too far. I can't believe I lost a bet over a bit of wordplay. I'm ruined. Hi, ruined. I'm Dad. I'm gonna call this kind of con semantics. He does it throughout the whole show, and I get so mad every single time. So something else that's weird here is that when I said that Alex is obsessed with old con artists, I should have said con artist, because he really only talks about one guy, someone named Titanic Thompson. Alex constantly talks about how cool this guy was and how he was the greatest hustler of all time.
Titanic Thompson. One Mr. Titanic Thompson.
Any book you'll ever read about Titanic Thompson, this one man, Titanic Thompson.
Kevin has some stories about Titanic Thompson. Titanic Thompson.
Titanic Thompson was the best left-handed golfer on Earth.
He's the son of Titanic Thompson. In the tradition of our hero, Mr. Titanic Thompson, one name comes up all the time. Titanic Thompson. Titanic Thompson. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
And that's just how Titanic would have wanted it.
Born Alvin Clarence Thomas, here's Alex telling the obviously completely true story of how he got the name Titanic.
Played pool, hustled everybody, and before he left, he saw a sign which said, you can win $100 if you jump over a pool table. He grabbed a mattress back to the pool hall, set it on the other side of the pool table, jumped headfirst clean over the pool table, landed on the mattress, and won the $100. As he collected his money and left, somebody said, who was that guy? The owner apparently said, well, I don't know who he was, but they should call him Titanic.
because he sinks everybody.
So it looks like Alex is misremembering things here, since apparently this is based on a story that Titanic himself wrote for Sports Illustrated, saying,
"In the spring of 1912, I went to Joplin, Missouri. Just about the same time, the Titanic liner hit an iceberg and sank with more than 1,500 people on board. I was in a pool room there and beat a fellow named Snow Clark out of $500. To give him a chance to get even, I bet him $200 I could jump across the pool table without touching it. If you think that's easy, try it. But I could jump farther than a herd of bullfrogs in those days. I put down an old mattress on the other side of the table, then I took a run and dived headfirst across the pool table. While I was counting my money, someone asked Clark what my name was. It must be Titanic, said Clark. He sinks everybody. So I was Titanic from then on."
Meow! Hey, chicken. This is Chicken, everyone. So Titanic probably isn't the most trustworthy source himself, seeing as he was literally famous for ripping people off, but his version of the story is definitely more believable than the bar offering that bet, a thing that would make literally no sense for them to do. Okay, bye. Yeah, I just think it rules that no one on the show bothered even to check Wikipedia before commissioning a full-on animation of Alex's completely bullshit version of the story. Especially since it'd be one thing if this was a one-off story that didn't really matter, but the whole show is about Titanic Thompson. Alex interviews his son, meets with historians who've written about him.
There's one man that I'm interested in particular, Titanic Thompson.
And the whole reason he went to that pool hall is because it may be near the bar where Titanic jumped over the table.
OK Bar and Billiards has been in business for almost 70 years. It's on the same stretch of road as Snow Clark's, the pool hall where Titanic jumped over the table.
Although, I say may because I definitely don't trust Alex's research skills here.
Have you ever heard of him?
No.
But this isn't done as just a tribute to Titanic, something that would at least have the potential to be kind of fun and sweet if it was done better. Instead, it's so much weirder, since the show presents it less as Alex trying to honor Titanic, so much as him trying to become Titanic.
This is quite exciting for me because I know for a fact Titanic has been in here. The story goes that Titanic sat right here throwing cards at his hat. This is exactly what Titanic Thompson would have done.
I can really picture Titanic, a tall, skinny guy in a really sharp suit and a cool car, pulling up outside, coming into a place like this.
So, setting the terrifying glimpse we just got into Alex's sick mind aside for now, the thing that makes this so much weirder is how it clashes with everything else we've established about the show so far. In the world of Hustling America, as well as just in Alex's understanding of the world apparently, conning people is fun and cool and something that people like having happen to them. And so, while he sees doing these dumb bets as the thing that made Titanic Thompson a cool badass, in reality, it seems much more like the fact that he was this massive badass was the thing that made these cons work in the first place. For example, when he talks to Titanic's son, who had gone on to make a career cheating at cards himself despite being abandoned by his father, the guy talks about how he'd have to deal with some of the people he cheated wanting to kill him.
And they said, "What's that red card doing in that blue day?" I had a second skill.
Right.
I had a spring holster hung upside down under a vest. And I always knew when you went out to get your pistol and come back. I could always tell.
How could you tell?
And you can just see a change in a person. And I'd look at that person and I said, you know what? If I'm good enough to cheat you out of your money, I'm good enough to kill you.
And later, Alex says how it completely blew his mind to hear how making a career out of stealing from people is actually very dangerous.
That moment when Tommy looked at me and he said, "It's one thing to lose your money, it's another thing to lose your life." That really caught me off guard because that just blows my mind.
Just like, I can't believe that someone will get violent after finding out that you cheated at cards. When I do it, they just laugh it off and then sign the release paper that my producer hands them. Or a big climactic thing that the show builds up to is recreating Titanic's very first con, which was this.
Titanic, when he was about 11 years old, was fishing by a river. And when he looked over, he saw another fisherman who had a very expensive fishing rod. So he went up to the guy and said, "Hey, mister, I've got a bet for you." He picked up a stone. He said, "I can put a mark on this stone, I'll throw it into the river, and my dog will go in and fetch the very stone." The guy said, "Yeah, sounds interesting." He said, "Let's bet for your fishing rod." Titanic picked up the stone, and threw it into the water. And sure enough, dog ran straight after it, picked up a stone, ran straight back out. The X was still on the stone.
But after explaining it, Alex adds a fun little anecdote, which, to me, changes the story quite a bit.
Now, what happened next was actually quite funny. The guy looked at him and said, "Neat trick, kid." Now, Titanic always used to carry his rifle around with him everywhere he went. He said, "Mister," cocked his rifle, "I think that rod belongs to me now." And that's how he won his very first bet.
Yeah, funny's certainly one word for that. I don't know. After hearing that, I feel like that's less about a clever trick to teach your dog and more the story of an 11-year-old boy robbing a man at gunpoint. Although, to be fair, from the perspective of a travel show, it does definitely make more sense to focus on the dog story as something that you can recreate rather than having Alex just actually mug someone. Although, since it's this show, they'd probably just laugh it off and say, "This is Texas." And so, Alex finds a trainer who agrees to teach a dog to fetch rocks after he shows her a magic trick.
You know, your standard card trick. You pick a card, she'll find it. Pick one out. Okay. You can give that card to me. Just spread all these just face up, so Luna can have a look at them. You put it down here, okay? Luna, I want you to find the King of Diamonds. Oh. Are you surprised?
I'm very surprised, yeah.
Are you?
Smarter than I thought.
Dogs aren't really interested in card tricks, but they are interested in delicious meat pate. When Cara handed me her card, I had a dab of pate on my finger. Then Luna just did what dogs do.
Damn, I don't know what's weirder, keeping pate in your pocket at all times right next to the lead chestnut, or lying that you do to seem cool, since if you look at the card when he first puts it down, it doesn't have any pate on it. They must have done the pate shot afterwards in post. This show has completely destroyed my mind. So then while she's training the dog, Alex increases his odds by spending hours doing this.
Collecting hundreds of stones from the riverside, marking each and every one of them with the same big X, and lobbing them into the same little spot in the river.
And then he needs someone to bet against, and so he gets just some random men.
Titanic made this bet with an Arkansas local, so I found myself some good old local boys too. They looked like a tough crowd.
I'm sorry, it's just so funny to me that these are literally just some guys. Like, imagine what their day was like. They get asked to be on a show, so they come down to the river and meet some weird British guy who challenges them to this bet.
I could throw it into the river, and Luna can go and get that exact stone back.
All right.
If I win the bet, you've got to strip down and go for a swim. If I lose the bet, I'll strip down and I'll go get the stone for you.
And then he loses, takes off his clothes to reveal old-timey long johns, and then gets in the river. Where's the gun, Alex? What a shame. I guess he's yet another fake Titanic Thompson fan after all. Absolutely amazing day for these guys. If I was them, I'd be telling that story to my grandkids. So yeah, that's most of what happens in episode 1. There are still 2 more to go. But first, step outside with me.
Just came out to the garden because I feel like I can be real with you guys out here. So, this is the part of the video where normally I would plug my sponsor, who were supposed to be none other than the Shadow Legends themselves, Raid Shadow Legends, which I was excited for. I think that would have been really funny. But it wound up not working at the last minute, and so instead, I thought I would just take a second to plug my Patreon. Now, you can skip over this part, it's fine, but basically, because of how much footage I've had to use here, this video is 100% getting copyright claimed. Now, what I'm doing is a review, which is absolutely a form of fair use, but the law being on my side does not mean very much on YouTube. And so the situation I'm in right now is that I have absolutely no idea if I will make any money off of this video. And so it's times like this that having a Patreon really helps me out. I'll cut this whole section out if I win the dispute, but if you've enjoyed this or any of my videos and are in a position to do so, please consider supporting my channel over on Patreon. If you can't or don't want to, though, no worries. Please consider doing all the other things, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. And something else that I just found out about that apparently is really good for the algorithm is if you like a video, click on another video by the same creator, which it tells the algorithm that you really, really like their stuff. So if you like this video, maybe check out this one that I made about another reality show that is just a new age cult. But more important than any of that, please just do this one thing for me and uninstall Raid Shadow Legends from your phone. Now, back to the video.
The second episode is set in Vegas, which sounds like it would be absolutely amazing, but it's by far the most boring one. And that's because it's not really set in Vegas so much as everywhere in Nevada except for Vegas. Well, he does at one point go to Vegas and hangs out a bit in a casino, and it's like, oh shit, I very much want to see if a casino pit boss is as down to laugh it off when he gets caught counting cards. But instead, he just walks around a bit, then leaves, saying,
"But the bets I'm here for don't happen in casinos."
Yeah, that's right. The reason he's not filming in Vegas is because he's just too hardcore for that shit. Alex isn't interested in conning casinos, the most deserving and poetic target possible. Instead, he's going to where the real action is, the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere where a local gun club hangs out. It's so infuriating how throughout the whole show, no one that Alex cons remotely deserves it, but the one time that he has a chance to not be the obvious villain, he doesn't take it. Anyways, he bets the gun people that he can shoot a silver dollar out of the air, and it's the exact same thing as the chestnut con, where all he does is switch the coin for one that already had a hole in it when his back is turned.
When my back was turned, I switched the silver dollar for another one I had in my pocket.
The really brutal part, though, is that the bet is the loser has to wash the winner's car, and oh my god, Alex is such an asshole to these people.
I think that went really well, actually. They didn't see me switch the coins. Oh, you missed a bit. Just there. Thanks.
This is especially bad because I'm pretty sure this is the only con where he doesn't tell them how it was done. Yeah, I just wonder why he decided not to reveal his lying ways to the gun enthusiasts. Something I noticed with this episode too is that since he's on the road so much, it kinda has the same feeling as how like comedians and musicians glamorize going on tour, but the thing is that a lot of that coolness comes from the fact that they're doing it in service of this impressive thing of traveling town to town performing every night. Without that, a tour is basically just a really sad road trip. Making chili in a hotel coffee maker just because is sad, but doing it because you're on tour though, honestly still pretty sad. I should probably stop telling that story at parties. Especially in this episode, it feels like Hustling America really leans into this aspect, but when all that he's doing is just traveling around pretending to con people out of their money, it's really not a good look. At one point in this episode, he talks to a former associate of Titanic Thompson's who basically worked as a hired goon, and the guy tells him very clearly how brutal this lifestyle is.
And I'll tell you, it's really, really, really tough, and it's real dangerous a lot of times. Usually if you beat a construction worker out of their money, they get them digging a ditch all week long, they're going to fight. I've been stabbed and I've been shot at.
You've been shot at?
Yeah, so I've gotten lucky many times.
So it's a pretty dangerous life, hustling for a living.
I love how this guy's being very serious here, but Alex is just like, whoa, epic! Alex's attitude for the whole show is basically just treating all of this like an amusement park, but the rides are just people who will smile and laugh when he takes advantage of them because there's a camera crew with them. And I don't want to be too dramatic here. Of course, these people are probably having a fun time being on this ridiculous TV show, and I doubt that anyone actually lost money, but it's just so gross to me how the show presents it as if it's all real while also making Alex out as the good guy by virtue of being the main character. I think you'll see what I mean most in the third, final, and by far the most deranged episode of all, where Alex goes to New York City. Right from the beginning, Alex talks a lot about how New York is the big leagues for scammers. He walks through Grand Central Station saying how this is where all the best con men are.
The most street-smart city in the world. For a hustler, this is the ultimate testing ground.
So here we are, Grand Central Station, New York. It's always been the traditional place to come and find your mark, your victim. Find him, bag him, and fleece him for everything he's got.
It almost feels like how my mom will talk about New York, except instead of being all worried and insisting that you duct tape your wallet to your stomach, Alex is just like, this city is super unsafe. And I think that's awesome. The first thing Alex does is a con to get transportation, just like in the first episode, but instead of driving himself around, Alex gets a taxi driver named Frank who gives the performance of a lifetime.
You know I've got something up my sleeve, though, for guys.
You won't have anything up. You won't have the shirt up for the sleeve. You're going to walk out there without your underwears after they're done with you.
This guy rules so hard. He's just the most over-the-top stereotypical cab driver in the world, and also probably the person who Alex screws over the hardest. When he gets in the cab, Alex says how he's going to be in town for a couple of days, so he needs Frank to drive him around for that time. And Frank's all like, sounds good to me. Hey, I'm walking here.
Hey, buddy, if the meter is on, I'll drive you to Egypt.
But then Alex says that he doesn't want to pay him and proposes a bet where if he wins, Frank has to drive him all over for free, and if he loses, Alex has to pay double. The bet is that they go to a pizza place and ask everyone there their birthdays, and if 2 people out of the first 30 that they ask have the same birthday, Alex wins. What Alex is actually betting here is that Frank has never taken a statistics class. Pretty much the first thing they teach you in stats is what's called the birthday problem, which is a really great example of how statistics work in ways that aren't intuitive. So to get a 100% chance that 2 people have the same birthday, you obviously need 366 people. But to get a 50% chance, you actually only need 23. I'm not going to go through all the math here because it's kind of boring and also I don't remember it all, but basically it has to do with the ways that odds will add up. If there are 23 people, then the first person compares against 22 other people. The second person then compares against 21 people, since the first person already compared against them, and so on and so on. Because there are so many comparisons happening, the probability rises really quickly. With 40 people, you have just under a 90% chance. At 70, you hit 99.9%. And in the case of this episode, Alex has a 70% chance of winning the bet, which he does. Also, what I just explained is only theoretical. In the real world, it's much more complicated, since the version I use pretends that leap years don't exist and doesn't account for twins or the fact that some birthdays are more common than others. I actually like this one, since I find this kind of thing really interesting and also genuinely believe that if more people had a baseline knowledge of statistics, it would probably make fake news a lot less effective. Even though the bet isn't realistic, if the show is just educational stuff dressed up as cons, I'd honestly think that was pretty cool, but instead, not only are most of the cons not that at all, in this case, when there is a chance to teach people something really cool, Alex says this instead.
The hardest thing about this bet is trying to explain how it works. If, like me, you don't have a maths degree, it's basically just a weird bit of statistics.
Okay, so the next thing Alex does in New York is meet with Kevin Cook, a historical nonfiction writer who wrote a book about Titanic Thompson. What's fun about this part is that I think Cook is the only person on this show who genuinely likes Alex, mostly because they're both total losers. Like, this is what he says when he takes Alex to the secret room in the basement of the bar they're meeting in.
Kitchen. Yes. Okay. Just like the beginning of Goodfellas.
Kevin's the kind of guy who says that he's connected because he took an Al Capone-themed tour of Chicago. They mostly just nerd out about how cool Titanic was. Kevin tells the story of how he would bet people that he could throw a watermelon onto the roof of a 14-story building, and it just sucks so hard.
He says, I could throw a watermelon onto the roof of that building. Well, he happened to have a watermelon the size of a baseball. But then, now tell you what, I'll let you pick the watermelon. He'd scoped it enough that you happen to be standing next to a 15-story building. He would take the elevator up, go out on the roof, and just pitch it over the edge so that it lands on the roof of the 14-story building next door.
Like, imagine you were the person who wound up in that bet and figured that even if you lost, you'd at least get to see something really cool. First, he throws a tiny watermelon, and you're like, come on, dude, that's bullshit. Also, where did you get a tiny watermelon? Then he gets a full-size one and just goes up an elevator, and you try and say how hard that sucks, and then he pulls a rifle on you. That's not cool. That's not fun. I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna say it. Fuck this guy and fuck his stupid scams. Alex and Kevin feel very differently, though.
It's so clever. It's like any kind of art. Yeah. It may not serve any purpose to feed the world, but it's difficult, and somehow it's beautiful.
These guys make people who cry at Marvel movies look like pretentious art connoisseurs, and the dudes who commission erotic art of the Fairly Odd Parents look like sophisticated experts in the avant-garde. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Alex does 3 more bets in this episode, and they're all amazing. First, he goes to a ping pong gym, and when he tells Frank that that's where they're going, Frank's all like, "Oh, gabagool!"
It's an Olympic sport. You get...
Olympic sport? They have walking as an Olympic sport. They put everything in the Olympics, ping pong.
At the gym, he bets the owner that he can beat anyone there and winds up going up against a woman named Dora the Destroyer. They play a practice game where she absolutely wrecks him. And then for the actual match, Alex says that to make it fair, they have to play with Coke bottles that were conveniently sitting nearby. This is the 4th and probably funniest kind of con that Alex does. Ones where he's just spent an absurd amount of time practicing something very stupid and pointless.
Damn right I've been practicing for the last 3 months.
This is a totally bullshit thing to do, but also hilarious because Doris still beats him.
Oh, shit. Oh. Yes. No.
So that rules. Also, he bet that if he won, he'd get a year's membership to the ping pong gym. And if he lost...
I noticed you got all the guys picking up the balls.
Yes.
You can send those guys home. We get it?
And while it is funny that he lost and had to do that, that is a pretty fucked up bet for the gym owner to make, eh? Like, it would have probably been better for him if Alex had won, since he obviously wasn't going to use that membership at all, but since he lost, picking up balls isn't just a punishment, it's also real people's job. Real people who got sent home and missed out on some pay to be replaced by just one guy who's never done this before and sucks at it. Then Alex goes to a bar where he does his next bet with some people he sees drinking there, where the loser has to pay for the winner's drinks. The bet is that Alex can open a wine bottle with his shoe. At first they aren't interested, so this is how he sweetens the deal.
These guys clearly need a bit of convincing to take the bet.
Tell you what, if I can't do it, I'll let you keep my shoes and I'll walk barefoot back to the hotel in the snow and the cold.
This is a really weird thing that he actually does a lot. In so many of the bets, he just offers to let people punish him in some insane way.
If I lose the bet, I'll have to sleep in my car.
A few moments later.
If I lose it, though, you get to lock me up for the night.
I like that one.
You like that?
1 hour later.
We're not going to go ahead with this, are we? I've also just found out that there is no toilet.
But also, when the people at the bar agree to the bet, he says this.
Wow, you guys really want to see me suffer. Okay.
And it's like, dude, you offered that. You always offer that. I don't know, maybe if you weren't such an asshole to everyone you meet, people wouldn't want to torture you so much. Anyways, they go outside and Alex puts the bottle in his shoe and starts banging it against the wall. This is something that I thought everyone kind of just knew. Like, didn't we all learn this in college when we bought a bottle of wine only to realize that everyone we knew had a drawer full of promotional bottle openers but no corkscrew? I will say that I've definitely tried this before but never gotten it to work, but rather than resorting to pushing the cork into the bottle with a chopstick, Alex does seem to be getting it out. Until...
What I love about this bet is that it works.
And so Alex loses again, and we get to see him walk home in bare feet while the people he tried to con raise a toast to the glass-filled shoes they've just won. And finally, the show ends on the dumbest bet of all, an eating contest. So throughout the whole episode, Alex makes a really big deal of it and keeps dropping hints for what his plan is. At one point, he meets with some random guy who he says is gonna help him because there's something very special about him.
What's so special about Andrew? Well, he's got something that only 0.3% of the population have.
The contest itself is at a seafood restaurant, and the way it works is that 2 teams of 2 both get 7 pounds of seafood, and they have to see who can eat all of it in an hour, with the losing team paying for both meals. On the night of the contest, Alex meets the people he's going up against, who are just some random dudes that are friends. But since everything Alex does has to be ridiculous, instead of just showing up with his partner, he makes a big show of pretending they've never met and picking him out at random.
Who could it be?
Excuse me, buddy. Excuse me. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew?
Hey, this guy looks familiar.
This is such a weird thing to do. Like, I can't imagine many people hanging out at a restaurant bar on a Friday night are gonna be down to hop into a surprise eating contest on a whim.
I see this guy looked away straight away. He don't want to do it.
I feel like it'd be way less suspicious if they just showed up together. Plus, right after that, Alex starts performing magic tricks for them. For sure, a great way to avoid drawing suspicion. Just like, I'm here with this randomly selected gentleman who I've never met before. Now, pick a card, and after this, I'll show you my cool black hustler hat. Just imagine someone acting like that and everyone thinking that they're a cop, except instead it's even worse. They're just a fan of this show, which, unlike being an undercover cop, is something that people legally have to disclose if you ask them. Okay, so the eating contest starts, and it's great because everyone in the bar cheers for the other team for the entire time.
It's a really supportive crowd here.
Just imagine how shitty you have to become the heel in a seafood eating contest. At first, Alex is the one eating, but then he and the other guy tag their partners in, and it's finally time for Alex's triumphant reveal.
I know what you're thinking. What's so special about Andrew? Is he a competitive eating champion? Nope. He's just an ordinary guy. But I happen to know another ordinary guy just like him.
And you need to be hiding at the back.
That's right. I've got 2 eating partners.
This is some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, everything about it, from using twins to the fact that it's all just to win an eating contest, feels like a prank that a 9-year-old would come up with. Except Alex thinks that this is absolutely genius.
I love the idea with the twins. I think it's clever. I think it fooled everybody in the room, and it was great. I'm now thinking of other things I could do with twins. Maybe I shouldn't say that on camera, should I?
Yeah, probably not. If I were Alex, I think that the only person I'd tell about all the incest I wanted to be involved in would be my therapist. So the first twin eats some food, and then Alex pretends to accidentally spill water on him so that he can leave and switch out with his twin brother, who's been standing silently in a supply room for around an hour or 2. Also, when the twin comes back, he has to pretend to act all mad about his pants, so we get some more amazing acting. The best part, though, is that, like Alex said, the twins aren't competitive eaters. They're just normal guys, and so they don't actually help him much, especially because Todd, the second member of the team they're up against, is a fucking monster.
It doesn't matter what the time is.
While Alex does his lame switcheroo, Todd is double-fisting crab legs while maintaining a terrifying amount of eye contact. I'm Canadian, but it honestly made me feel patriotic for America watching Todd destroy them while the whole restaurant chanted, USA! USA! In the end, the twins barely mattered, and so at the last second, Alex tags back in and stuffs as much as he can into his mouth just as the time runs out. So then the owner comes out and regretfully tells hometown hero Todd that
some crab meat left in the crab legs.
He then begrudgingly crowns Alex the winner while everyone boos.
I have to give it to
The first time I watched this, I felt like it was an anticlimactic way for the show to cap off, but honestly, no, this is perfect. Just seeing Alex with a mouthful of unchewed crab meat celebrating to a chorus of boos. I also love how in the background of that shot, along with everyone else booing, you can see one woman who's starting to cry. I imagine she's Todd's girlfriend and just knows that if he can't find glory at the bottom of 7 pounds of seafood, he'll look to the bottom of a bottle instead. Also, the subtitle has the owner saying, "I'm going to have to give it to Alex," but if you listen closely and slow it down a bit, they cut away quickly so it's hard to tell, but it doesn't sound to me like he said Alex. I can't prove it, but I think he forgot Alex's name and said instead. Once he's done celebrating his ill-gotten win, Alex gets everyone's attention and goes to get the other twin from his hiding place with the same energy as a parent at a 12-year-old's birthday party announcing that the pizza's arrived.
I've got another Andrew!
I don't think I've ever seen someone misread a room this badly in my life. I hope you guys liked watching me humiliate your friend, because guess what? I cheated! Anyway, the guys they competed against laugh it off and say they had no idea, just like in every other episode.
When he came back and he just started eating again, I looked at Alex and I was like, but I didn't know at all, obviously.
Yeah. Well, that guy says that. As for Todd...
I thrive on situations like this, especially with seafood. I'll eat that all day. I'm ready for some more.
I don't think he realizes that there were twins at all. He just talks about his passion for the sport of competitive eating. I think he's gonna make it someday. And that's it. The show ends with Alex deciding that he's done what he set out to do and proven himself for no apparent reason.
I've done my best against the savviest city on Earth, and I think I came out on top.
And then says it's time for him to mosey on out of there. So what do we make of this? Well, when I talked about how Alex is using the logic of magic to construct the kind of conflict of beliefs that good magic thrives on, there's an obvious problem with that, right? A good magic trick forces you to believe that you're seeing something that you know is impossible, not just by hiding its methods, but also by disproving any other explanations. It's not enough for a card to vanish. The audience also needs to see the magician's sleeves rolled up and their hands empty. On TV, it becomes way harder to prove things, and so, largely thanks to David Blaine's 1997 special Street Magic, magicians tend to rely on showing the spectators' reactions as a sort of proof/Greek choir. Alex is basically doing the opposite of this, though. There is no conflict of beliefs here, since instead of cultivating that, he's literally explaining his tricks to people who are, at best, politely humoring him. The result is a show that is truly and fundamentally underwhelming to an extent that I think that you could reasonably call it anti-magic. But also, I think that a very reasonable explanation is that Alex had fun making something dumb, and so did I today. So, I don't know, I'll come up with something deep for my next video, but for now, thanks for watching.
I don't wanna be an anarchist, you know I just want someone sweet to kiss. So I just want to be dumb and in love. And who else can I donate to? Play 20 benefits for the ACLU, but I just want to be dumb and in love. I don't wanna care about modern art, you know I'm so fucking bored of acting smart, and I just want to be dumb and in love. Do I have to call my congressman? I don't even fucking know them. Oh yes, I want to be dumb and in love. Idiot bitch. Dumb and in love. Dumb and in love. What protest is it cool to go to? What women's right will the president undo? Oh, I miss when I could be dumb and in love. Who's Wolf Blitzer? And why is he old? If there's global warming, then why am I cold? Oh yes, I just want to be dumb and in love. And I want to fuck like I'm not registered to vote. I want to eat beef on a whale fishing boat. Oh yes, how I long to be dumb and in love. And I know my problems are really small. 2016 didn't affect me at all. Oh God, why can't I be so fucking dumb?